It's just that consistency that leads to predictability.
You need to try and make sure you're winning that customer loyalty more and more.
I don't want to buy it now if I can't get the member price.
I need my 20p.
Yeah.
Recognition, personalisation of offers, a customer wants to have.
Making sure that the technology underneath that, we can flexibly work with all of those options to service the customer.
And with the help of Zonal, we can now store in Apple Wallet and Google Wallet.
So we'll give them a prompt. Hey, did you know you can book this experience with your points to try and get them to engage?
Also, you'd fill out a welcome card and you get a free bottle of red or white wine, house wine, there and then on the night.
For us, loyalty is there to drive frequency and spend.
Yeah, you have to stand out.
90% of people are now open to joining loyalty programs. So I think that's why you're seeing so much change.
Money and data.
The data is the critical part.
You get points, those points turn into pounds, and those pounds you can then spend with us.
Welcome to the next episode of Tech on Toast podcast in partnership with Zonal. And today we're talking about loyalty that lasts, growing with guests, not just points. Today we're joined by Amy Clark, Head of Marketing at Wyndham Hotels Resorts, Gillian Nicholson, Sales Director at Zonal, Jamie Queen, Chief Growth Officer at Butcombe Group, and I'm Chris Fletcher, Founder and CEO of Tech on Toast. In this episode, we're looking specifically at loyalty schemes and apps. What's the best in class look like? What makes them effective? And what does the future look like for those we're rewarding? Thanks for joining us and enjoy the episode. Welcome everybody. First of all, before we get into anything, let's meet each other because I think we're all strangers today. So I'll start with you, Gillian, since you've already been on. I'll just start myself. Where are you from and what do you do? Sound like Cilla Black.
Gillian Nicholson, Sales Director at Zonal. We're a technology company that has worked in hospitality for over 45 years, servicing many lovely customers such as Butcombe.
It's like you had it planned. Jamie?
So I'm Jamie. I'm Chief Growth Officer for Butcombe Group. We operate pubs across from London Mayfair right down to the southwest coast, and then across to Chichester, and then we operate some pubs in the Channel Islands as well.
Nice.
We've got a very successful brewery and one of the fastest growing low alcoholic beers as well.
Yeah, it's a new thing, right? Well, I say new thing, but it's been coming for a while, hasn't it? That low and no.
Yeah, low and no, zebra drinking. People switching between a low alcohol drink and then a sort of normal alcoholic drink, and then back again.
I haven't quite joined that journey yet. Maybe I'll be on it soon. But yeah. And Amy, nice to meet you.
I'm Amy. I'm from Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, Head of Marketing there. Been there for 11 years, so started out e-commerce focused, but taking on brand and loyalty over the years. Wyndham it's a really large hotel franchising company. It's very big in North America. We're growing here in EMEA with about 600 hotels. In the UK, our brands like Ramada and Days Inn are a bit more well known. But yeah, 25 different brands,
wow.
Almost 9,000 hotels, over 90 countries. So it's, huge scale.
Yeah, good luck with that. Okay, good. And today we'll talk more about, I suppose, digital loyalty today. And Gillian, I'll start with you actually, because from your perspective at Zonal, why is digital loyalty, or why is digital, I suppose, hospitality going digital now? Why so important, and why now? Why do you think it's suddenly booming, I suppose?
Well, I think we've done quite a bit of research, and I think the positive thing is consumers want to be engaged with. So I think 73% of consumers are happy to be engaged with their favourite restaurants, pubs, bars. And I think obviously the trend of high frequency and low value visits are becoming less and less, and therefore you need to try and make sure you're winning that customer loyalty more and more. So I think engaging with the customers in the right way, and digitally being probably the most easiest way. Obviously, email is still top of the ranks for people wanting to engage with some of those brands. I guess understanding your consumers, getting that market and that messaging right to try and entice them in for repeat visits and increasing that revenue and transaction spend is really important.
Yeah, and I think general question to you guys before I get into the rest of my questions. Are you seeing the same thing? Because I guess you've been 11 years at Wyndham. How long have you been at?
About 18, to nearly 2 years. Okay,
so have you seen a shift? Were you in the industry prior to that? Were you in
travel before that?
Well, that's really interesting actually, because I think travel was miles ahead of hospitality in terms of, I suppose, loyalty and kind of bringing people back. Have you seen a shift, I suppose, in the last few years in what you're doing at Butcombe in terms of bringing people on that journey?
Yeah, I think we're seeing more and more demand for loyalty, and I think recognition, personalisation of offers. A customer wants to have some offers that suit them, that are appropriate to them, that are personalised to them, and through loyalty you're able to do that because effectively you've got access to the data and understanding of customer behaviour, and then every transaction that customer has with you, every offer that you're able to then give them is incremental. It's not it's not cannibalising, so it's good for the business because we spend promotional spend and offers on driving incremental behaviour from a customer perspective, and it's great for the customer because if we're doing our job well, we should be delivering personalised and tailored offers. So we're seeing an increase in demand for loyalty. We've seen an increase in contactable data, so the number of people opted in.
So less checking out of that part.
Yeah, so fewer people saying we don't want to sign up to emails, and we're seeing a higher engagement rate on our email activity where we use loyalty. So actually there is better engagement from customers, perhaps helped by the role of loyalty in retail. We can't go into supermarkets now without getting the best offers, so you don't see sort of buy one get one free on the ends, promotional ends anymore. You see sort of member offer prices or loyalty offer prices, and I think that's driving a change in customer behaviour.
I think that's something I learned at Prime Minister. I never heard of a gondola until I went to work for Prime Minister, and a gondola is the end of the aisle. And when we used to, those offers, we used to get driven, like pushed down in price to go to take part in those end of aisle offers, and it was really difficult. But I agree. I think that membership pricing or that kind of because you're part of a club or whatever it might be. Look at Prezzo recently; they've just relaunched and they've got the same kind of Tesco type club card deal going on. So it's really interesting. Same for you, Amy. Is it interesting the fact that obviously you're franchising out? How many sites were there you're looking after? Is it 900 in the UK?
600 in EMEA.
Right.
I look after, we've got almost 9,000 globally, hotels wise. But yeah, I mean, over the past, over a decade that I've been there, massive change. The demand, it's an expectation. I think exactly what you said about it's kind of mainstream now. It's everywhere you go. Like if you go around the supermarket, you see people just standing there like zombies on their app, like trying to download the app because I don't want to buy it now if I can't get the member price.
I need my 20p.
Yeah. And so there's this absolute expectation that if I'm going to buy, I need to be making sure I get the member price. I can't, I'm not going to buy what's available to everyone. So yeah, you can't not be in the game. It's it's compulsory.
I was going to ask, actually, I forgot to ask, compared to travel, because you mentioned it, are they further? Obviously, they're further ahead probably in that journey because of the digital nature of that business. But is it produced? Can you see the ROI now potentially? What they've been doing in terms of loyalty and travel for a long time?
Yeah, I think travel's interesting because you have to travel where airlines are involved is higher frequency.
Yeah.
So you need the frequency to be able to prove out the benefit of a loyalty program. I mean, ultimately for us, loyalty is there to drive frequency and spend, and we want to see an increased frequency and spend, and that's how we measure return on investment. I think in travel, it depends which sector of travel, but clearly hotels and airlines have the biggest use case for sort of loyalty. What's different in, I think, hospitality, and particularly for us in pubs, is the depth of data we're able to get. We don't just operate pubs, we operate pubs with bedrooms, an event space, and those pubs with rooms that serve great food and effectively operate like restaurants, although we call them pubs because we democratise access to the pub. But actually we've got sort of three facets to that business. People who come in for a drink, people who come in to eat and drink with us, and people that come in to eat, drink and stay with us. And so that depth of data we're able to get enables us to have different perspectives, different understanding of customer behaviour. So we don't actually need as much frequency to understand a huge amount of data and understanding of how our customers behave.
Yeah, because I guess the data in travel is a bit more one-dimensional, right, in terms of how they use, and because it's such a high frequency, it's less ask, I suppose, from your side.
Yeah, and travel, you might be, if you're on an airline, your ability to spend on that airline is limited to the things you choose to buy while you're on the aircraft.
Depends who you're travelling with, to be honest. My last holiday, I'd argue that point. And that's just, while I'm with you still, just to check, so you've just, you've got a loyalty program in Butcombe?
Yeah.
And I'm interested to understand, before I come over to Amy and then Gillian, asking about how you drive buy-in into that from internally. So actually, obviously you're talking about acquisition from customer side, but actually getting the team to come along, because I guess they have a big part to play in bringing people on that journey as well.
They do. So 22% of our till transactions have a loyalty card appended to them. So it's quite a significant penetration already of loyalty within our sort of database or our transactions. And the team play a critical role in making sure that we get more customers signed up. And we've more than doubled the number of contactable customers we've got on our database in the last 2 years. And part of that is down to the team. So from their very first onboarding journey with us, they're trained on our way, which is our training, our customer journey that we deliver, our way of doing business and treating customers the right way and giving them great experiences. And part of that is about loyalty. I think there are lots of things we could continue to look at improving. We haven't got quite into the discipline of always asking customers when they are at the till, do you have a loyalty card? But we've put in lots of offers and promotions which drive the customer to ask for loyalty.
So they're driving that behaviour.
So they're also driving that behaviour. So I think it's a bit of push-pull. We need customers to drive that behaviour by asking for the offer that has that's available for loyalty, and then we also need our teams to be pushing and making it available. We've made the sign-up journey really easy. We have offers that are only available on a Wednesday, so Wednesday's now one of our biggest trading days. We offer 25% of food on a Wednesday.
Is that strategic, just out of interest? So there's a reason you've driven them to Wednesday, obviously.
Deliberately, because we wanted to drive, before my time, drive incrementality on that day of the week. So it's I'm not saying that we're fully there yet. Like, we've still got lots more things that we're learning all the time. We've just tweaked our sign-up journey. There's still some things we can do to improve that further. And we're sort of going through a bit of a challenge in terms of we've moved our program to being a digital program. With the help of Zonal, we can now store in Apple Wallet and Google Wallet the card. But for some of our customers, they'd prefer a physical card. Yeah. So we're sort of grappling with, well, do we make physical cards available for some customers? How do we do that? How do you differentiate between what customer would want or not without creating a lot of complexity? So I think the team play an absolutely critical role, but I think we also enable customers to know about loyalty, to understand it, to have it within the app when they're ordering or paying their bill, and that's pretty critical. So I think it's a bit of push-pull, really. No,
it's cool. Gillian, I'll come back to you in a sec about that, because it's interesting what Zonal are doing to enable that kind of journey in terms of digitising what was, I suppose, a very manual process originally, I suppose.
Yeah, it was physically cards before.
And Amy, because part of this problem is part of the challenge is personalising, right, and making sure that actually there's an ability to reach the right customer at the right time. In you've got quite a vast array of people to get to. How the hell do you do that and keep? Because also your users are a bit more tech savvy without being rude to the pub goer. Yeah. The traveller is a bit more tech savvy and wants everything at the click of a button. And is used to that. How do you kind of weave those two together? Good luck.
The number of different countries and demographics that we're talking to is insane, but it has to be based on data and technology, and we've been doing a lot of journey orchestration, we call it, with we partner with Adobe on this to use real-time behavioural data to really inform what's the next message that customer's going to see when they're interacting with us. So trying to get business versus leisure messaging right is really difficult, really difficult. You just don't know, and we have such an array of brands that are different for different things at different times, but the behavioural signals we can pick up really help us to get that message right. And also things like, if we can see somebody's been sitting on a huge points bank for a long time, they're clearly not really wanting to spend that on hotel stay, so we'll give them a prompt. Hey, did you know you can book this experience with your points, to try and get them to engage? So it's like looking for those signals and then trying to feed back the right message to them.
And I'm guessing the technology has to allow you to do that, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Has that been a bit of a trial? I suppose you have to kiss a few frogs to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of work with Adobe in lots of different platforms, and it helps to have everything connected. So we do a lot of work with them, but also everything is tested. So we make these real incremental changes to see, okay, we think that we've got a hypothesis, this is going to make a difference, test it out, and then kind of gradually improve that experience and that messaging and see what works. But trial and error, absolutely, all the way.
That leads me nicely to the product person, trial and error, because I'm guessing to kind of maintain what these guys are trying to achieve from the front end with the user or with their staff, it's that ability to kind of deliver the product that matches what they need. How much of a journey have you guys had to go on to kind of make sure that you're delivering what, for instance, what Butcombe need in terms of digitising their experience?
I think for us, it's obviously listening to what our customers are looking for and making sure that the plumbing, the infrastructure that we do from a technology standpoint underneath all links. I think obviously we're constantly listening to customers in relation to what kind of unique journeys they want at the front end. Obviously we did a lot of work with customers in relation to white labelling an app. A lot of customers would prefer to go down a more personalised route and do that themselves now. So I think it's all about being open into what every different customer wants and how they want to be serviced, but making sure that the technology underneath that, we can flexibly work with all of those options to service the customer, so that each brand, each operator wants to give their customer a unique experience, and from a technology standpoint, it's about us being open to working with not only the Zonal technology, but if there is independent apps that they want to work with or other partners, that we've got the APIs and integrations there to link it all together.
I think you just said that about the integration, that fact it's all going to be joined up, otherwise it becomes more of a problem than it's worth, right?
Yeah.
And I think behaviourally, have you seen as much of a change with the Butcombe? Is it called the Butcombe? Has it got a
Butcombe loyalty program?
So it does what it says in the tin. But have you seen much? Has it driven behavioural change? I know you mentioned the Wednesdays, but are you able to move the customers around into, I suppose, almost to do your bidding, as it would be?
Yeah. So we've got. We can demonstrate that there's a higher level of visit frequency, and higher level of spend per head for all of our loyalty customers versus non-loyalty customers. So at a very macro level, it does exactly what we'd like it to do. It drives frequency and it drives spend per head, and that delivers return on investment. Beyond that, what we're able to do is understand exactly how those customers are behaving and what needs we need to meet, whether that's we've got a high number of regular drinkers. Lots of our pubs have changed over time. They've moved from being pubs that have a smaller amount of food to, over the last 15-20 years, we've diversified like lots of operators. We've introduced bedrooms, we've increased dining space. So maybe we need to get the balance right in terms of vertical drinking space and people being able to sit on tables that aren't laid up. Because from customer feedback, we know that some of those customers may be put off by the fact that we've got tables laid up and they don't feel like they can sit down for a drink.
Yeah.
So understanding that and understanding that exact customer persona and being able to see, well, actually we have a reasonable number of those customers. In fact, we know exactly how many of those customers come, how frequently they come, which days of the week they prefer to come, which drinks they order on the bar, and then we're able to tailor the experience we offer, not just the promotions that we offer, to meet the needs of that customer group, which sometimes gets lost in, historically, a pub manager, one of our general managers would have known all of their regulars by name. But over time, that the pubs change. That's still the case in lots of our pubs, but actually it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we use data to understand them, and that when we're communicating, we communicate as if we are the general manager who sees them every three nights of the week and has that conversation, because otherwise we'd be doing pretty poor central marketing if we didn't make sure we represented their needs individually. So yes, we are seeing overall increased spend per head and increased frequency, which is ultimately what we measure our success by.
And have you seen anything in your I'm going to get the name of your program as well. Do you have a program?
Wyndham Rewards.
I mean, really, yeah. I should just guess this. But are you seeing the same kind of experience in terms of ROI? Are you able to measure what you're getting back quite quickly in terms of what you're doing?
I mean, that's what I love about loyalty. Of all the things that I do, loyalty is the one where we can really see the impact quite clearly. Because OTAs, like online travel aggregators, they're so expensive to get our business. Even, we negotiate as a huge brand, but it's still a really expensive channel. And, part of our value proposition is to fill these hotels with bookings that make sense cost of sale wise, and loyalty is like the way to do it. So we measure a lot of things. We've got a huge data engineering team who look at how it's performing, trying to show the incrementality of it. And we look at things, again, like revenue per booking is about 15% higher from members versus non-members. Length of stay is longer, so you see more shoulder nights being booked by members. And that propensity to book the next stay with us. So once you've done 2 stays, then you're much more likely to then continue on repeating stays.
I find it fascinating that because that, like you say, in the old days, that knowledge. I mean, in your world, who knows? But in the old days, it was a general manager. Almost that cheers mentality. What the person was expected to drink at the bar. But having that data, that value, the value must be immeasurable. Is there anything that's really shocked you in terms of the results? You've gone, I did not think that would happen.
I mean, it's surprising sometimes when you get bookings from members who they've maybe forgotten and they've booked via an OTA, and you're like, you could have got a much better deal here. So part of our messaging is reminding existing members, make sure you do come back next time, because it's much more lucrative for you as a consumer to come and book through the programme. And we do all of these kind of bonus points promotions throughout the year, and I think historically it was the business travellers who understood that, but not the average traveller.
Where they're using high frequency.
But now, where these loyalty programs are kind of becoming much more mainstream, I think people are getting more savvy to, actually, I do need to be a member of that program and book via that program. I can't book via an OTA. So I think that's changing a bit more over time as people are getting more savvy.
Yeah, I think so. And I think when people come to talk to you, actually not you personally, but to Zonal, sorry, I'm pointing at you. When people come to talk to Zonal about loyalty, is there a similar goal that you're hearing here that they're trying to look for from going on a bit of a loyalty journey, I suppose? We had a chap on the podcast just before you guys. He said there's no such thing as loyalty. It's called usefulness. How useful are you to your customers, kind of thing. People, what is their kind of plan when they come to you? What are the goals they're trying to achieve?
Well, I think more and more consumers are looking for value, what with the cost of living crisis, but then value can be very subjective. I think to different people it doesn't necessarily always mean the cheapest price. But I think in relation to, obviously, Jamie, you spoke about there, the frequency, the increased spend, I think, but underlying all of that, the data is the critical part, because if you have that, I mean, knowledge is power, and that's where you can understand what that customer base looks like, how you need to market to them. Because the other thing about loyalty as well, isn't it, we don't want to be giving away stuff for free. It's margin erosion at the end of the day. So therefore you need to see those growth tactics, and you're hitting those goals for whatever strategically you set out for your loyalty plan. So I think obviously the frequency and increased spend, but underlying that, the data is the critical part to give you that knowledge.
Money and data. Basically, it's true, and I think that actual journey for the customer has become, as you said, it's becoming more frequent, and people are getting more used to these programs. Everyone's got a digital wallet full of stuff now, and they're kind of understanding it. How hard is it to integrate that into your individual journeys? I'll start with you. We talked a little bit about, the forgotten, I suppose we'll call them, the guys that like the physical card, and there's a certain age group maybe that doesn't want to do the digital thing. You talked a little bit about it there, but how are you kind of working to keep them, I suppose, involved in the program and make sure they don't get left behind?
Yeah, I think the first and foremost, simplicity of access is definitely key. So we have we won't integrate any part of our loyalty program if it doesn't use the same loyalty card. So we have a single loyalty card across all of our pubs, all of our managed pubs. And that loyalty card enables you to redeem points and spend points against bedrooms and accommodation. It's the same for food, and it's the same for drinks. So I think the first thing is it needs to be simple enough that it works in all places, which isn't always true of all operators who run loyalty programs. And I think there are examples in other sectors, such as hotels, where you can have quite a big disconnect, where you can spend on the rooms, but you find that the restaurant's franchised and it doesn't accept it, and that creates a disconnect, and also almost a sort of lack of trust and integrity in the scheme. So I think the first thing is we make it really simple. We've made the sign-up process simpler, and we'll continue to do that. And we build data over time, so we don't necessarily require you to fill in an enormously long form with lots and lots of details. We'll build our understanding of you as a customer over time through other information, questionnaires, surveys, ways you interact with us, which helps us reduce the pain at the beginning of the process, which ultimately helps our sign-up journey. So I think that's a key part. And then making sure that our signposting is really simple. So it's a really simple scheme. You get points, those points turn into pounds, and those pounds you can then spend with us. We don't have very complicated dynamics like you can multiply those points, or we've had the various debates about increasing the value of the points at certain times of the year, but the simplicity of keeping to the same number of points all year round, the point of sale stays the same, the messaging from the team stays the same. We have Butcombe Wednesdays, we have some offers that we put on from time to time, which will enhance that. You get 20% off bedrooms. It's a very simple, stable, predictable offer. The only thing we change in and out are different offers. So at the moment we've got a really great offer for loyalty breakfast, because it's a really key day part for us. We've got great amenities, our pubs are fantastic, they already serve breakfast to lots of customers staying with us, so we offer a loyalty breakfast for anyone who'd like to come in and spend time with us, and that's on mornings are a really key growth for us. But that's really simple. It just requires you to scan your card and you get the loyalty breakfast. So simple execution of offer and gatekeeping of the offers to make sure that they continue to be as simple as possible.
I totally agree. It's just that consistency that leads to predictability. Do you know what I mean? And I think often it's same with operations. In my career, I spent my life in restaurants. That actually, when you get predictable, you get really good. Once people expect what you're going to do, you get really good. And I think for you, it might be more challenging because you've got to go through that. Actually, no, you have rooms now as well, so but you have to go through that whole process. How do you kind of monitor it or manage their journey, I suppose, from their landing on Google all the way through to checking out and keeping them in the program? Do you learn quite a lot from the different brands? I'm intrigued to think.
Yeah, we do. And as you were talking about simplicity, that was really interesting because our whole program was built on like simplicity as one of the pillars, and I think it's what stands out for Wyndham Rewards in particular because we don't have like dynamic points costs. Yeah, it's we have a this is what it costs for a free night. That's it, and it doesn't change all year, and you just know. So I think simplicity is so important. But yeah, like that user journey going all the way from like the research to after the stay, I think the member discount is the most obvious first touch point where it's an expectation, but it doesn't really create much of a connection with the consumer. They expect that discount. I don't think that's enough to have them hooked really to come back. So we're kind of looking at other places in the journey. And one thing that we're launching this year, which I think is really cool, is it's starting in the US, but I'm hoping we can bring it to Europe, where you can order from our Wyndham app. When you're in the hotel, you can order your meal from like Applebee's, which is a restaurant around the corner. It gets delivered free to the hotel, and you get points on that order.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's all done within the Wyndham app, and so it's kind of integrated. It's generous. It's easy. And so it's the first time we're doing that, but I'm hoping we can grow that, different restaurants, different countries, and I think it'll be really interesting to see.
It is interesting because you're almost eking into partnerships, almost
exactly.
Like a technology
and
type.
I do think for loyalty, partnerships is really important because you just need these things to set you apart, that have these meaningful connections that make you want to come back to that brand again because points to redeem on nights is kind of, everyone's doing it. You could probably get that anywhere and it's important, but these other opportunities are really interesting and compelling and sets you apart.
I guess we're close to not saturation, but it must be challenging if you think of us all as consumers for a minute and not as people with jobs. But there's a lot of stuff in my inbox, a lot of stuff in my digital wallet. It's becoming a bit of it's hard, isn't it, to stay relevant when there's so much noise. So I think you have to go think out the box. I was going to say, Gillian, there's two very different programs here. In terms of the size of business or whatever they might be, and how hard is it for you as Zonal to manage between those two things, or how hard is it to help an operator to find their mark or to kind of play to their brand strengths, even though one might be an independent pub chain or one might be a huge hotel resort?
I think we can kind of try and help operators and customers coach them through that, but I think the point is there's a lot of uncovering what that brand and what your messaging and what you mean to customers is, and how you want to be portrayed when you are deploying a loyalty scheme, and that will obviously vary drastically to whether it's a small pub chain or whether it's a UK based or a global kind of restaurant or casual dining situation. So I think it's all about understanding again the kind of strategic goals of your brand and what you want from that messaging. Ultimately for us, underneath linking the tech and the plumbings and it's the same, but I think it's making sure that the loyalty program that people are putting out there is going to be received well by your customers, the different demographics, that that there is nuances within those demographics, and how do you tailor them, and ultimately again the data underneath that is where you uncover all of that, those little gems.
And I totally agree. I meant to ask, do you have a favourite loyalty program that you use individually? In terms of like something you'll go to every day. Mine is Tesco. Obviously, I'm a bit sad. What were you looking at me laugh for?
I was actually just thinking.
When I said favourite wasn't the right word.
Yeah.
My most used.
Yes.
They all looked at me like, who is this?
Yes.
And I feel Gracie staring at me as well. Actually, my Nike is my favourite one because it's pretty cool. The Nike loyalty is very cool. But I use Tesco frequently because I think back to our consistency conversation. You just know what it's going to do. Have you got a favourite one to use regularly?
Well, I would say regularly it's probably got to be retail actually.
Just say Tesco's.
Yeah, well, from a hospitality perspective, probably I would shout out Pizza Express, an existing customer.
What about you? Have you got a thing that's sitting on? You must have something on your phone. It's quite weird when you ask people because a lot of people think, I don't, but you're probably part of many that use Few.
Yeah, I think one of my favourites for gamification is Lidl's. Yeah, my team laugh at me about this as well.
Why? I haven't used it, so now I'm intrigued.
So the Lidl app has several layers of complexity to it. So it feels like it should be complex,
right?
But the way they've built the UX makes it quite simple. So you get sort of free things when you go in. So the idea is you open it as you go into the shop, which I'm terrible at remembering to do, but I like the gamification of it. So you go in, it looks at what you've bought previously, it gives you a free sort of thing of some description, often very personalised on something you bought before, and maybe you're out of frequency of buying. And I wonder whether there is an element of day part and stock management to that as well. I would suggest there probably is.
I bet they love you. I was only doing that because
quite often bakery items appear later in the day, which sort of suggests they know they need to get rid of them. But I'm not sure. I mean, it would be smart if
you're right.
they were doing that. And then there's another spend element as well. So you'll then get a discount based upon your total accumulated spend within a 30-day period, which I also think is a sort of instant gratification. You can get something while you're there, and then this sort of long-term build-up over the course of a month. And then I don't know what the splits are, but I think if you spend sort of £200, you get 10% off your next shop. So it's fairly meaningful in terms of the actual discount somebody will get. But I like the fact it's some gratification while you're there. And then
I think that's a key part, isn't it? Being able to give someone. So I mean, Carluccio's, when I was there back in the day, used to have something. It was before the digital world. We had welcome cards on the table, so you'd fill out a welcome card, and you get a free bottle of red or white wine, house wine, there and then on the night. But we used to have to send these bags full of postcards to head office with like thousands of these posts because everyone loved it, right? And we partnered with a company called Anotria. I think we got a massive discount on the wine, so everyone was winning, and it was possibly one of the best programs I've ever seen because we had 100 sites at one point delivering those 2,000 cards a week from every site. So yeah, really clever. What about you?
I mean, it's a classic, but I do like the BA Executive Club app because I think they're probably one of the early ones, and I love because the different tiers within it are quite important in terms of the benefits you get, and so like seeing how much I've got to go until I get to that next
Do you travel
tier.
much? Are you much in the States?
I used to travel a lot more earlier in my career, and as we've grown, we've got more people in offices around, so I don't have to travel. To be honest, it works out quite well now. But I have started to see my tiers go back down the ladder. But it was just they must have put a lot of money and thought into it, and it just worked really well. I know a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with that kind of thing, but yeah, I've used it a lot and I found it useful.
I think the airlines really set the standard, didn't they, for
Yeah.
kind of understanding what the travellers do, what the customers do. Forget they're a traveller for a minute. What the customer is doing and how they've behaved, and rewards upon that, which was. They were very good. And now I feel bad about my Tesco thing. And literally, as you've been talking, I'm thinking, let's think of something else quick. I just can't. But Lidl took me down, so it's fine. So look, it's been really interesting chatting to you guys. But I'd love to know what one trend you think's coming, I suppose, in terms of loyalty or bringing someone back, whatever you want to call it. Is there something interesting coming down the road that we don't know about, or that you might know about, or what you'd like to see? Start with you over there, Jamie.
I think we've talked a lot about use of data, but I think very few people, certainly in the casual dining and pub sector, are using the data that's available or that they're collecting. And if you think about customer personas, segmentation of customers over time, historically you would have looked at a sample size. So you'd go and do a market research questionnaire, or you would go and take a sample of data from Experian or someone like that, or a market research agency. You'd use that sample to then say, well, how many of those customers spend, maybe with some credit card data overlaid.
Yeah.
But your sample size would be relatively small, and you'd come out with some segments of customers. And a little bit like Amy alluded to earlier, the opportunity to use machine learning and data analytics and more advanced sort of AI techniques to be able to do what we could only dream of doing 10 years ago, because computing power just wasn't there.
I was going to say, you have a data team, and I don't. Do Butcombe Group?
Yeah, we do have a data team.
Do you have a data team?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've really invested in data over the last 18 months, and we have a data team who are able to take all of those 22% of all of those transactions that we have in loyalty and build. Well, I won't get into the geekery of it. K-means clustering models and various techniques to be able to analyse how customers behave. We break it into 7 personas or segments of how customers behave, and we can see daily how those customers behave and move over time. And I think the big change is coming through how cost effective that is to do now.
Yeah.
So a business like us wouldn't have had the scale to be able to invest in.
That's what I'm saying for people listening in, and like you're just thinking, how do I not compete, but how do I get to that point? And the answer is going to be AI, right? Into machine learning, the way that it does.
Yeah.
So it's and same question.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to talk about AI. Like there is.
I have to do it. It's like a given on every podcast
I
now.
know.
I think I try and get as far as I can without talking about it, but then
I know.
someone
I mean,
brings it up.
it's a given. So I'll park AI, and I think one of the things I'm most excited about, and we talked about it at the start of the podcast, and actually all through, is just how mainstream it's getting and opening the door to lots of new customers. Like I was at a festival this weekend, and the festival had an app, and the app had a loyalty scheme, and like 3 years ago, you wouldn't have thought so. But it was it worked really well. The technology was amazing. I was redeeming at the festival whilst I was there, and I thought, wow, like all of these people just don't think twice about getting the app out, engaging with it. And so I think for us that really opens up a lot more, because we're our hotels are mid-scale economy, getting it into a bit of upscale, and there's just a huge base of people there who haven't really engaged with points and programs in the past, but they're getting more into it. And I just think it really puts a lot of opportunity there for us to tap into them and get them using the app and engaging with us. So I'm excited to see the growth that we're going to get from that base that we've not been able to really penetrate before. It's always been, the business travellers who live for points. But
God,
yeah,
I feel really sad I live
I know,
for points.
I know. There's whole forums of people discussing where they can get the points, which is great, and we love them. But
Needs to go out more.
no,
they don't. They get more points.
Yeah.
And I think some of the research that we've done absolutely backs up that. 90% of people are now open to joining loyalty programs. So I think that's why you're seeing so much change like
it's
that.
a huge
but I think,
opportunity
for us, because there is that openness, and I think we kind of touched on it before, and I suppose it's members only pricing. It talks about to the retail element that we've mentioned, as that's certainly something that we see as kind of an upcoming trend and change, but it can be love it or loathe it. And I guess
I guess it's a risk as well, right? Because the more people who want to participate means that participation means that actually the playing field needs to be better.
You have to stand out.
Needs to deliver.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get people at a festival who have engaged with the loyalty program at Butcombe, for instance, go there expecting the same experience, then don't get the same experience, and then disappoint, and then detract. They turn into detractors, not advocates. So I didn't ask you. Did you? Is there something you see coming down the road, or were you on the same?
Well, I was just saying, I think we've seen there's like 49% increase in like members only pricing, so I think that's definitely a trend that we are seeing is picking up. But I think you just need to be careful as to what demographic you've got within your customer base, and whether that is a pull or a push factor, because some people are not so much of a fan of
no, it's true.
Pricing.
But I think people wanting to belong to something that's been going on forever, right? When I was a kid, there's football clubs, everyone follows a club or a band or whatever it might be, but I think it's that, I think tapping into people's psyche where they really understand that they want to belong to something but it feels seamless is obviously a route to success, but easier said than done, I'm sure. But look, thank you very much for coming in, seeing us all. I appreciate your time. Before we let you go, if people have listened to you and thought, that's quite interesting, I'd like to know more, can they contact you? Is there any way, the safest way they can find you?
Yeah, easiest, find me on LinkedIn.
There you go.
Yeah, go for it, I'll be there.
Same for you, Jay.
Same for me, yeah.
No one's giving out their phone number here. And Gillian?
Yeah, LinkedIn,
There you go. Look, thank you very much for listening, everyone. That was Tech and Toast podcast with our partner Zonal, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
So much.